My Uncle Robert's hand on my shoulder felt more like a threat than comfort as he steered me toward the exit of the Hope Springs Foundation office in downtown Seattle. "This isn't personal, Kelsey," he said, his voice dripping with false sympathy that made my skin crawl. But what Robert didn't realize, what none of them realized, was that by firing me, he'd just signed the death warrant for the charity that bore my late mother's name, and I was the only one who could save it. I'm Kelsey Harper, 27 years old, and according to my family, I'm the disappointment who never lived up to my mother's legacy. My mom, Susan Harper, died of ovarian cancer when I was 17. Before she died, she'd started Hope Springs Foundation to help low-income families access cancer treatment and support services. After her death, her brother Robert, my uncle, had taken over as executive director, with my Aunt Linda as operations manager and my cousins Justin and Emma filling various roles on the board and staff. I'd been working there since college, supposedly as the community outreach coordinator. In reality, I scheduled social media posts and organized the occasional volunteer event, while my aunt and uncle made all the real decisions. They treated me like an intern who'd overstayed her welcome, always reminding me that they were honoring Susan's memory by letting me be involved at all. What they didn't know was that for the past 5 years, I'd been anonymously donating most of my salary back to the foundation, plus significantly more from my inheritance. My mother had left me a trust fund, $2 million that I'd received full control of when I turned 25. Between the trust's investment returns and my own freelance graphic design business, I'd been funneling roughly $300,000 a year into Hope Springs through a series of anonymous donations routed through donor-advised funds and my attorney's firm. I'd kept it quiet because I wanted to see if the foundation could stand on its own merit, if my family actually cared about my mother's mission, or just liked the prestige of running a charity. The answer, unfortunately, had become increasingly clear. "The board voted last night," Robert continued, walking me past the conference room where staff members pretended not to watch. "We're moving in a new direction. More professional leadership, less familial nepotism. You understand. Nepotism." I stopped walking. "I've worked here for 6 years, in a position we created to include you. But the foundation has grown beyond that now. We need people with real credentials, real experience." He smiled, the kind of smile you give a child who doesn't understand why they can't have dessert for dinner. "Your mother would want what's best for Hope Springs, and frankly, Kelsey, that's not you." My Aunt Linda appeared from her office, carrying a box with my few personal items already packed. "We took the liberty of clearing your desk. Security will see you out." Security. I looked around. The foundation had 8 employees total and operated out of a modest office suite. "We didn't have security. Greg volunteered," Linda said, nodding to the building's elderly maintenance worker who looked mortified to be involved in this. That's when I understood. They wanted to humiliate me. This wasn't just about removing me from the foundation. It was about making sure I knew my place. "I see," I said quietly, taking the box. "Can I ask who's replacing me?" Robert and Linda exchanged glances. "Emma is stepping into an expanded role as Director of Development and Community Relations," Robert said. "With her MBA and marketing background, she's much better suited for fundraising and outreach." Emma, my cousin who posted Instagram stories from Cabo every other month and whose marketing background consisted of a brief stint at her friend's boutique PR firm. Emma, who'd once told me at Thanksgiving that cancer charity work is so depressing, but apparently had changed her tune when a director-level salary became available. "Well," I said, holding the box against my chest. "Good luck with everything." I walked out without another word, past Greg the maintenance worker who whispered, "I'm sorry," as I passed, out into the gray Seattle drizzle that perfectly matched my mood. I didn't cry. Instead, I went home to my apartment in Capitol Hill, opened my laptop, and sent an email to my attorney, Marcus Webb. *Marcus. Please cancel all scheduled donations to Hope Springs Foundation effective immediately. Redirect those funds to the backup list of charities we discussed. Also, prepare documentation of all my donations to Hope Springs over the past 5 years. I may need them soon. Kelsey *. His response came within an hour. *Done. For what it's worth, I told you this would happen eventually. Your family never appreciated what you were doing. Call me if you need anything. *. Over the next 3 months, I threw myself into my design business and researched other cancer support organizations. I donated to several smaller foundations doing similar work to Hope Springs, organizations that were transparent about their finances and actually put money towards services rather than salaries. I also watched Hope Springs' social media accounts, which Emma had taken over. Her posts were all polished photos and corporate speak, nothing like the genuine stories and community connections we used to share. Engagement dropped by 60% in the first month. Then, on a rainy Tuesday in November, I got a text from an unexpected source, Melissa Chun, Hope Springs' longtime accountant. Asterisk Kelsey, you need to see this. Emergency board meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Big financial crisis. I think you should come, asterisk. They fired me, remember? Asterisk, you're still a founding family member. You have the right to attend board meetings as an observer. Trust me, you'll want to be there, asterisk. I arrived at the Hope Springs office at 1:55 p.m., wearing my best professional outfit and carrying a folder of documents Marcus had prepared. The receptionist, new since my departure, tried to stop me, but Melissa appeared and waved me through. You're going to enjoy this, she whispered as we walked to the conference room. The room fell silent when I entered. Robert, Linda, Emma, Justin, and 3 board members I vaguely recognized all stared at me like I'd crashed a funeral. What is she doing here? Robert demanded. Ms. Harper has the right to observe board meetings as a member of the founding family, Melissa said, referencing a bylaw my mother had written into the foundation's original documents. It's literally in our charter. This is a closed financial meeting, which makes it especially important for founding family to be present, Melissa interrupted. She was in her 60s, had worked for my mother directly, and was apparently done taking orders from Robert. Shall we begin? Robert glared but nodded for me to sit. I took a seat in the corner, away from the main table. Melissa pulled up a presentation on the screen. As you all know, we've been experiencing severe cash flow problems for the past 3 months. Our operating expenses are on track with previous years, but our donation revenue has dropped by 85%. That's impossible, Emma said. I've been running aggressive fundraising campaigns, which have generated approximately $47,000 total. In previous years, our annual donation revenue averaged around $350,000. This year, we're tracking towards $60,000 if we're lucky. The room erupted in overlapping conversations. Robert shouted for quiet. There must be an explanation, he said. Economic downturn, donor fatigue. Actually, Melissa said, I've identified the problem. For the past 5 years, 85% of Hope Springs' total donations came from a single anonymous source. That source stopped giving in August, coincidentally, the same month Kelsey left the organization. All eyes turned to me. I smiled and said nothing. Kelsey, Linda said carefully, do you know something about this? I opened my folder and pulled out the first document. I know that between 2019 and August of this year, I personally donated $1,473,000 to Hope Springs Foundation through various anonymous channels. The silence was deafening. Robert started, then stopped. That's not possible. You made $42,000 a year working here. I also inherited $2 million from my mother when I turned 25. Plus my graphic design business generates about $150,000 annually. I chose to fund the foundation anonymously because I wanted to see if you actually cared about the mission or just the prestige of running a charity. You've been secretly funding us? Emma's voice was shrill. That's insane. What's insane is that you fired your primary donor and didn't even realize it. I pulled out another document. This is a breakdown of where my donations went. 30% to direct family support services. 25% to treatment assistance grants. 20% to community education programs. 15% to operating costs. 10% to emergency funds. I slid the paper across the table. Notice what's not on that list? Executive salaries above $60,000. Corporate retreats. New office furniture. A $30,000 website redesign that Emma commissioned last month. Robert grabbed the paper, his face reddening. How do you know about our expenses? Melissa sends me the quarterly reports. She's been concerned about spending priorities for a while now. I looked at my former accountant, who nodded. In the year before Kelsey left, Melissa added, operational overhead was 32%. In the 3 months since, it's jumped to 58%. You've been treating this foundation like a personal bank account. That's absurd. Linda stood up. We've worked tirelessly to honor Susan's memory. My mother, I interrupted, my voice sharp. My mother started this foundation in a spare bedroom with $5,000 and a dream to help people who couldn't afford cancer treatment. She paid herself minimum wage and put every extra dollar toward families in need. You've turned it into a vanity project with comfortable salaries and networking events. We've helped hundreds of families, Robert started, using my money. Money I gave anonymously because I wanted to see if you'd do the right thing. You didn't. You pushed me out the moment you thought you didn't need me, and now you're 3 months away from bankruptcy. The board members were whispering to each other, looking at the financial documents Melissa was distributing. So what now? Justin spoke for the first time, my cousin who'd barely acknowledged my existence when I worked there. You're just going to let the foundation fail? Let all those families suffer? No, I said calmly. I'm going to start my own foundation, the Susan Harper Memorial Fund. I've already filed the paperwork, secured office space, and recruited staff, including Melissa, who gave her notice this morning. Melissa smiled. 2 weeks as of today. You can't do this. Emma's face was red. You can't just steal our accountant and start a competing charity. Watch me. I have the funds, the mission clarity, and apparently the only genuine commitment to my mother's actual vision. I stood up, gathering my papers. Hope Springs can continue if you want. Try to find new donors, cut your inflated salaries, actually focus on helping people instead of padding your resumes. Or you can close it down gracefully and redirect your remaining resources to organizations that are actually making a difference. Kelsey, wait. Robert's voice had lost its authority. We can fix this. We can restructure, bring you back. You fired me, Uncle Robert. You told me I wasn't professional enough, wasn't experienced enough, wasn't good enough for the charity my mother founded. You humiliated me in front of the entire staff. Why would I come back? Because we're family, Linda said weakly. Family doesn't treat each other the way you treated me. Family doesn't erase someone's contributions while benefiting from their generosity. You didn't want me in the family business, fine. Now I have my own. I walked to the door, then paused. For what it's worth, I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing this because those families you claim to care about deserve better than a foundation run by people who care more about their titles than the mission. My mother deserved better, and I'm going to make sure her real legacy continues, just not with you. 6 months later, the Susan Harper Memorial Fund is thriving. We've helped 43 families access cancer treatment, provided support services to over 100 people, and we're operating at just 22% overhead. Money that actually goes to salaries for qualified staff who genuinely care about the work. Hope Springs Foundation closed its doors in February. They tried to continue, but without my funding and with their reputation damaged by whispers about mismanagement, donors stayed away. Robert sent me an email asking if I'd consider merging operations with my foundation. I declined. Emma now works at a marketing firm, posting inspirational quotes on LinkedIn about learning experiences. Justin moved to California. Linda and Robert are both semi-retired, occasionally volunteering at local nonprofits, but mostly keeping a low profile. Melissa is my operations director and finally making the salary she deserved all along. We're planning to expand to Portland next year, then maybe San Francisco. Sometimes I think about what my mom would say about all this. I think she'd be sad that the foundation bearing her name had to close. But I also think she'd be proud that I stood up for her real vision, that I didn't let her memory be used as a stepping stool for people who didn't truly understand what she was trying to build. The plaque in our office lobby reads, "In memory of Susan Harper, who believed that helping others isn't about recognition. It's about showing up when you're needed most." I show up every day, not for titles or prestige or family obligation. I show up because it matters. Because she mattered. And that makes all the difference.